Hello, welcome to the League of Women Voters Wichita Metro October unit meeting. We are so excited to have you join us tonight. This is truly going to be an awesome event and opportunity for us to learn more about mental health. I have some really great things to share with you from some really awesome organizations. But first, what I want to be able to do is first go over our diversity, equity, and inclusion moment. We traditionally have had these at many meetings before we start. Today, I'm inviting up Lisa Veda, one of our diversity, equity, and inclusion members, as well as Brian Powers, who sits on the Wichita Accessibility Advocacy Board. Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening. I would like to introduce Brian Powers. He is the assistant professor of business at Bethany College. This is his current position. He was formerly the program director for the Masters of Healthcare Leadership program and visiting assistant professor at Friends University. He's a former president and CEO of Seneca Healthcare Group, as well as the former owner of Home Healthcare Connections. He is, like I said, he is our chair of the Wichita Sedgwick County Access Advisory Board, and where he's been a member since 2013. He was also the former chair of the Wichita Independent Business Association and a 2019 recipient of the Healthcare Heroes Award by the Wichita Business Journal. Brian, I feel, is a wise businessman, a compassionate advocate for people with disabilities, and an all-around good human with an affinity for academia and community service.
Well, Lisa, I don't think I deserve that introduction. Thank you very much.
We had basically two questions for you. The first was, what are a few things that business owners or managers need to know about persons with disabilities? And then the second question is, how can organizations continue to advocate for persons with disabilities?
What do business owners need to know? First of all, well, let's go back to the Constitution. We all enjoy equal protection of the law. So we have a legal basis for equality. That said, we need to be proactive as business owners. A quick look at the Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy can give business owners some guidelines and some confidential guidance on inclusion of persons with disabilities in the workplace. It starts with our hiring process, and most businesses are I would say, hesitant, unsure about the laws, the rules, the policies that should be in place. But we need to understand that disabilities are seen and unseen. We don't know if persons are disabled. So then should we consider all persons disabled? If we do, aren't we truly all equal? We won't treat anyone any differently than anyone else. We need to adjust our application process to make sure that we accommodate qualified applicants. All of our hiring is based on merit only. There are, bona fide occupational qualifications that need to be considered, but can also be accommodated. How do we do that? Employers might seem hesitant or concerned with cost or the ability to convert a workplace for persons with disabilities. Those concerns are certainly not an affirmative defense for not doing so. Modifications to the physical work environment or to the way the job is performed must be made so that a person with disability can perform essential functions of a job. Employers might be concerned about creating some undue hardship on the business. There's not too much that can be said in favor of undue hardships. Their costs can be overcome. Physical limitations of workspaces, being able to accommodate someone in an office space, in a cafeteria. These are concerns of businesses that I've encountered. Now, in providing services, in particular healthcare services, It's important that our policies and our practice include non-discriminatory language and practices. We don't discriminate in the services that we provide. We don't discriminate in the hiring process. It applies to our customer, and it applies to all our stakeholders in our businesses. We need to make changes that enable employees with disabilities to enjoy equal benefits, equal opportunities, equal privileges in our workplace. The same equal to those enjoyed by other employees without disabilities. The only limitation on an employer's obligation to provide reasonable accommodation, and this is the probably the thing I hear most from businesses, is how can I be sure that what I'm doing will not create an undue hardship on the business or the employer or on the other employees. Again, there's such a high bar there that I think all employers, and as the former head of an independent business association, I can tell you that employers need qualified employees. Disabilities are irrelevant. And if you read Title I of the Americans with the Disability Act, it says the disabilities are irrelevant. That doesn't matter. We look at merit. That said, I'm pretty good with questions if you have any questions for me.
Is there any advice you might give to organizations such as the League of Women Voters that we can continue to advocate for persons with disabilities?
Well, because I know you, Lisa, and I know you advocate for the voters, and I'm aware of some of the issues you brought up to the city, to the county, regarding access to voting for persons with disabilities. I would say keep up the good work. I think constant vigilance is helpful when we get into different political environments, and I don't want to get too specific there, but we need to be ever vigilant in ensuring access to those voting places. This ensures our basic rights. And again, going back to the Constitution and equal protection under the law, the only way we can confirm that is being able to vote. And every person who is registered to vote should be able to vote, should have access to vote. It needs to be unencumbered access. It needs to be ready access. And we offer that to all registered voters, regardless of disability. So keep up the good work there. I know you work on access to different buildings and different voting places. That's something that we can all do. We can all ensure that if we see an issue with a building or a business, that we bring it to the attention of someone who can do something about it. Call Lisa.
Well, this is so interesting and so exciting to hear so much more about a different diversity. When we look at diversity, equity, and inclusion, we are truly looking at so many different aspects of who we are as humans. And Brian, you have truly helped us see that when we are looking at really being an inclusive environment, we have to look for being seen and unseen. And I think that was just a beautiful way that not every disability is seen. So I truly appreciate you, both of your time and everything that you are doing for our community and advocating for those for accessibility and rights there. So I appreciate you both so much. Thank you so much for hopping on tonight and sharing so much with us, Brian and Lisa. Thank you guys both.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you guys were just as equally inspired as I was. I really was excited to hear and learn more about how to be a person and an advocate for those that have different abilities than I do, and be able to make sure that we're putting their thoughts and their abilities at the forefront. So now we're going to look at one of these opportunities here. So this month we are focusing on mental health. So what does mental health look like in our community? What does it mean to us? What does it mean to our community here? And how can we help those that might be struggling with different issues in mental health to be able to help them be able to live their best lives and be their best selves. So we have some really incredible opportunities to learn from two great individuals. So I'm going to bring up two different people, but first I want to introduce the organizations that they are a part of. The first person that we're going to learn from is Jennifer White. She's the executive director of ICT SOS. So ICT SOS is a Wichita-based organization that acts as a liaison between very specific local professional organizations to help at-risk and trafficked youth to decrease sex trafficking in the Wichita area and all over the country. So very excited to learn how we can help our youth, specifically with mental health there. Then we're also going to learn from Amanda Van, who's with Comcare. So Comcare's mission is to help Sedgwick County, specifically with persons with mental health and substance abuse needs, to improve their quality of life. Amanda Van is the program manager at the Crisis Center. So we're going to learn a lot about other different ways that in our community we're helping with mental health. So I'm going to bring both of these ladies up on the screen. Welcome. I'm so glad to both have you here tonight.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, you guys are so welcome. You both do so much in our community to help with mental health, starting from young adults up and young adults through the entire lifespan. So I wanted to give you both a little bit of time to share a little bit more about your organization and what you do. So Jennifer, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so like Kate said, I'm Jennifer White. I'm the executive director of ICT SOS. We are celebrating our 10th year this year, which is crazy. We started very grassroots in 2011 and have just really grown. And so the biggest parts of what we do as an organization now are a couple of things. One is our prevention education program in schools. And as you can imagine, we weren't able to get into many schools last year. And so we're really excited because part of what we did during the crazy pandemic year was to work with a film company and create some video content to be able to expand our prevention education program into some more areas across the state. So we'll be rolling that out this semester and throughout the rest of the school year. So we're really excited about that. We've worked with about 11,000 kids in the Wichita area and around, surrounding school districts since we started going into the schools. So that's a big chunk of what we do. The other portion, and this is a newer program for us, we do have an adult advocacy program now that works with our adult survivors. And I'm excited that Amanda's here because we lean heavily on Comcare and, hope to be able to refer back and forth. Our clientele crosses over quite a bit for sure. So our advocates can work with survivors to help them get connected to resources, really just kind of whatever they need. We've got really great advocacy services in Wichita for youth survivors through the Child Advocacy Center. And so now we're excited to come alongside them and work with our adults. And the thing I'm really excited about is being able to work with that population that is aging out of youth services and into adult services and being able to help make that transition really smooth. So, and then we do all kinds of other things. We run around and fill in gaps and get called to do, just whatever crazy thing doesn't fit under somebody else's umbrella, and we're happy to do it. So that's us.
Well, that's awesome, Jennifer. It's so exciting and unique to hear how you're helping so many youth in our community and, hopefully, and now across the state. That's so cool that you're going to be able to impact so many youth. Amanda, I know you guys work with youth and as well as other large portion of the population. Tell me a little bit more about Comcare and so that our viewers can just kind of learn a little bit more.
So Comcare is Sedgwick County's mental health center, and we serve all of the population of Sedgwick County. The good thing about Comcare is it is accessible to anybody who may need mental health services or need connected to resources that are within the community. We serve on a sliding scale fee, so we offer services to be accessible for those individuals who might have more difficult times accessing the services. And we provide mental health services in the community. Our goal is to kind of work with individuals within the community to hopefully avoid hospitalizations and help them maintain in their setting. So we'll go out to houses and meet people in their houses. We provide individual therapy. We also do drug and alcohol treatment, and we have services for youth as well.
This is awesome. I mean, both of you two together, you guys are a wealth of knowledge. I'm so excited to learn more about, like be able to pick your brain. Also, to anybody watching or listening right now, you are welcome to drop any questions or anything that you have in the comments around different things. So if you have questions about either of their organizations, about mental health in our community, these are really great opportunities to ask. So go ahead and drop those in the comments at any time. So I just had a couple of things, and I'll kind of bump back and forth through different places. So the first one is it's about Comcare. So you guys do so much for our community and like really reaching out to people. Is there pieces of Comcare that we should be aware of that we could be utilizing on a day-to-day basis as individuals that that might be helpful for us to know about?
So Comcare has a crisis center that's open 24 hours, 7 days a week. It never shuts down. It's open on holidays. We have a crisis hotline that people could utilize if they don't want to get out into the community. So they could call a hotline and be connected with somebody to process through what their current struggle is. We also have open access intakes where you could call and get scheduled an intake to access services.
Awesome. Those are both super cool. I know, and so I know with ICTSOS, you guys focus more on sex trafficking, but I mean, obviously when somebody has gone through that situation, there's a lot of assistance needed in the mental health arena. So tell me a little bit more about some of the services and things that you lean on to help improve mental health in youth, especially those that have been in those hard situations.
Yeah, I think one of the big things, really, especially right now, is we're spending a lot of time talking with youth about online safety. And I know that maybe doesn't sound like it has a lot to do with mental health, but most of our cases, if not all of our cases, have some sort of an online connection. And, that through this past year with kids being out of school, schooling online, spending a lot more time unsupervised online, we've just seen an enormous jump in reports of online exploitation, sending photos, asking for photos. And if you don't think that has a mental health component for a kid, so we're spending a lot of time just talking through, what does it look like to navigate those things if you find yourself in a situation where, you've sent somebody a photo or, and then really just as peers, how to support your friend. If a friend comes to you and says, hey, I'm in this situation, I don't really know what to do. Just helping them really kind of understand that all of our kiddos that have been exposed to any kind of exploitation, whether that's, child pornography, trafficking, anything, there's a huge mental health component to that. And sometimes for years and years and years. So we lean a lot on resources like Comcare and KVC and the Child Advocacy Center therapists, and really just trying to make sure kids know what those resources are and how to access them if they need them.
That's incredible that you're trying to do preventative work, and then also on the other side, it's really helping a lot of these kids that have a lot of issues. So here's a question that I just have, like, as a community, how can we better begin to prioritize mental health in our daily lives? Like, how can we be better community members with those that are struggling with with things that might come up with their mental health? And whoever wants to start is able to.
I think a big component is normalizing it. If we don't normalize the conversation, it can bring a lot of shame and guilt, which can be
for people to understand that the helpers need help. Just, it's not an us and them thing. I think every person on my staff accesses mental health services, whether that's therapy or, whatever that is, to get through the things that we see and deal with every day. And so, when we can look at it from this standpoint of, we were talking about, eye doctors, right? You don't wait until you have, a raging eye infection before you go get your eyes checked, right? But for whatever reason, we don't look at mental health that way. People still have this idea that it is only to solve a problem. And it's really not. It's preventative maintenance, right? It's like changing your oil in your car. It does need to be normalized. And like I said, for the helpers as well. And I think the more we can help people understand that we access those services, the more that helps our clients understand, like, you're not broken. Well, we're all a little broken, but you're not any more broken than the rest of us.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I take medication for anxiety and depression, and that's a piece of who I am. And normalizing that in our community, to know that just because, some things that once you get out of the mindset that you're the only one that has, that has those similar issues. But when you realize that truly our community is a place that's really as accepting, as also one that has, people are similar to me, the mindset, and then, kind of the ability to access services without, again, that shame and some of those other burdens that come along, is so important. There was somebody that asked a question from Comcare, and it says, does Comcare help with people find, like recent parolees and other people like find employment and things? Is that a piece of your services? Or tell us a little bit more of people that might have just left the judicial system, or and things of that nature, like things that you guys can help with them there.
So if somebody is a recent parolee, or they've been involved in the judicial system, and there is a piece of their mental health that is impacting their functioning, we can help. I do know that a lot of parole and probation officers have employment people who will work with people who have any criminal backgrounds and different things. They have lists and different things that they can help that parolee look into as well.
Yeah, so really, it's a great opportunity for them. Comcare is a great resource, especially if they're experiencing some different aspects of their mental health that they need help with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome. So in our world right now, we do have a lot of us have been at home for a while. Our world is changing. I think all of us can say that our world of what we knew and what our world will be, just like all the time, but is definitely very different than what we've had before. What are some ways that people can prioritize their mental health on a day-to-day basis? What are things that might be good tips and tricks for someone?
I know Jennifer had talked about not waiting, and not waiting for the issue or the struggle to get big and unbearable. That early intervention is really crucial. So making a priority to address things as they come up instead of waiting and hoping that it gets better.
I think too, just taking good care of yourself physically as well.
Mm-hmm.
Your mental health is a product of what's going on in your body as well. And so something as simple, and I do not practice what I preach. I will put that out there right now, but getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, getting some exercise every day, those things are very simple, but they have a really profound effect on how you function.
Amen. I don't know how else to expand on both of those. Like, we're truly, I think the best word in this is it's health. And, and so like your health, all of your body is connected, your thoughts and everything is all connected together. And so if you're not sleeping, if you're not, feeding your body, you're not moving your body, you're not giving it enough water and the things that it needs, there's more impacts that will come up in other places than it will be if you're really taking care of who you are, at the heart of it. So in our community, what ways can we advocate for those that might be struggling with mental health? Or what ways can we what things can we do to give to our community, people, be allies in our community for those who might be struggling with mental health?
I know if you are concerned, you as the individual in the community could reach out to our crisis line and help get people connected, educating people and really helping them get connected to those resources is going to be really important. And doing it in a non-judgmental manner is going to be the most important to really encouraging somebody to get help.
And I think, like Brian was saying too, it's a matter of accommodations and creating workspaces and just inclusive spaces where people feel like they're safe and they're accepted, for all kinds of reasons. All of that affects our mental health. So the more we can help people be able to function in whatever space they are to the best of their ability, the less they're going to struggle with that in regards to their mental health as well. So it's all interrelated.
Definitely. I had another question from Vicky. She was like, she just has some questions about unemployment, but I think it kind of comes back bigger to this. So a lot of our homeless population, a lot of times there's some mental health issues that are causing that person to be homeless. Is Comcare a great place for them to come to and reach out to, or what other how can we help our homeless population maybe with some of their mental health issues?
So we actually have a location center downtown that anybody who's homeless, it is right above Open Door. And so that is a place where if they're staying at the Union Rescue Mission, or it's a drop-in place that for anybody who is homeless can utilize, and they can get connected to Comcare services through that.
So that's awesome. No, thanks for all that education there. We have another question. So like what ways would you like to see the city or county designate some of the ARPA money that they'll receive to help those that you serve? So how would you love to see when we've got some funds coming, what are great ways to invest back into our community? I know this is a big question, so if you don't know, that's totally fine too.
I don't have an answer for that because I think there's lots of ways to invest, and I think just making mental health a priority is important.
Yeah, definitely. So using those funds to prioritize mental health, I love it. Jennifer, do you have any ways that you would love to see some of the city or county designate some ARPA money coming in to help those that you serve?
Yeah, I think especially for our population, there are just still some very big gaps. Mental health is one of them. There's been some really innovative things done that I would love to see expanded. We've had some referrals through the ICT One team, which is a social worker, a paramedic, and a police officer working together to respond to those mental health calls instead of just patrol officers. I think that's a program that they've piloted that I think could be expanded. I think it's doing really good work. Housing continues to be a big issue, especially for women. If you are not actively trying to leave a domestic violence situation, it is very hard to get into any kind of emergency housing. And especially for us, a lot of our survivors are not leaving, what would typically be described as a DV situation. They're trying to leave a bad situation, but it may not necessarily be a textbook DV situation, and our shelters are full. So even if you are trying to leave a DV situation, they're just full. So I think housing is a big need. I think mental health continues to be a big need. And, for us, all of that overlaps with things that our survivors need for sure.
And definitely, I think that's some really great insight of what our community is needing. So we're needing to prioritize mental health as something that can truly be something that can uplift our entire community. You talked a little bit about ICT One and some things there, like how investing back into everybody's quality of, their mental quality as well as their quality of life, really bringing that to the next level with so many things there. I would love to hear more about too, and this one might be a little bit of a difficult question too, but if there is one thing that if somebody is struggling, like some resources or things that you would want them to know to reach out to, or if let's say let's say it's a friend of mine that's having resources, having issues, and I want to give them resources to help them. What are some great? I know Comcare is some great places, but what are some specific ways that I can be either help myself or help somebody else in a mental health crisis situation?
So I have a really easy answer on our end of things. We actually have a mobile app that we created a couple of years ago. It's getting ready to be greatly expanded. We're supposed to get the beta testing version, whatever techie mumbo jumbo side of that, here in another week or so. But right now it does have some really great Wichita resources, and then it will be expanded into statewide resources. So this was something that we created when we started going into the schools, because one of the last things that we wanted to do was walk into a school, drop this information in a kid's lap, and then leave them without any resources if they realize, hey, wait a second, I'm not in a good situation. So you can go into either one of the app stores and just search for ICT SOS and download that to your phone. It has everything from pregnancy testing to homeless and runaway services to Comcare to all kinds, the DV shelters, all kinds of different things. So even if you're not somebody who's necessarily at risk, it's a really great thing to throw on your phone if you have somebody that comes to you and says, hey, do you know who I call for X, Y, and Z? So it's free. It doesn't take up much space on your phone. So that's just a little plug for that. And like I said, it's about to get expanded statewide resource wise too. So we're excited about that.
That's awesome. I think that's a really great thing to have in your back pocket as a way to continue to have a resource. Within Comcare, what's the best place, or what resources do you suggest, Amanda, with some things there?
Well, we have our hotline, which is 316-660-7500. They could also use the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and that would connect them to workers as well. And they could utilize that line to get support or help through anything. NAMI is another really great resource. It's National Association of Mental Illness. And if you just type in that website, it will get you connected so you as the individual can learn more about mental illness. It has different support groups and different advocacy groups that they offer in the community. So that's another great resource.
That's awesome. I know you guys do a lot of work with NAMI. Can you tell me a little bit more about your guys' partnership and things that you guys do together?
So we have connected people with NAMI. So getting people who maybe are experiencing mental illness connected with individuals who have lived that experience as well. Because a lot of the advocacy members and members through NAMI are individuals who have lived experience with mental illness and are working towards recovery. So we do a lot of connecting them with that different resource.
That's awesome. Well, that's really cool. I knew there was a partnership there, so it's beautiful to hear more about it. I have a couple more questions here too. So this one is from Lisa, who we heard from earlier. Is there safe space locations in Wichita that people can go to get help from ICT SOS or Comcare? What are some safe spaces that our community can visit if they need it?
Yes, I love that she mentioned Quick Trip. So we work a lot with the Wichita Children's Home Street Outreach Team and their Homeless Youth Drop-In Center. And they are the provider for Safe Place here in Wichita. So if you've seen the Safe Place signs at Quick Trip, the library, the Y, the buses, anywhere you see that yellow sign, youth up to 21 can go into any one of those spaces and tell somebody, I need a Safe Place person, and one of their advocates will come meet them anywhere in the city, 24/7, 365. So we're big fans of Safe Place.
That's awesome. How about with Comcare? Is there any places that people should look for if they need a safe space?
So we have our location that's downtown. It's 635 North Main. If they are needing help, they can request help through police and ask for a crisis intervention officer, or let them know that they want to get connected with Comcare, and the police can help get that connected as well. But they could call our hotline and it would be a direct call, and they wouldn't have to go through different entities to get to that place, or come directly to our downtown location.
Awesome. No, that's super awesome to know that there are some safe spaces for, if somebody's experiencing a mental health crisis, of what, where should they look and where should they go to be able to connect with that.
One thing too, Kate, that a lot of people may not know is you can actually text 911 now.
Oh,
So if
wow.
somebody is in a situation where maybe they don't feel comfortable going into someplace or even picking up the phone and making a phone call, you can text 911. You can also text Safe Place. The National Human Trafficking Hotline has a text option. So a lot of the hotlines and things are catching up with the technology and the fact that teenagers don't talk on the phone.
Yeah, and sometimes it's easier to be able to, in certain situations, to be able to have something that's silent that you are able to do, and you're able to communicate with people that way. So that's so interesting to know that you can text 911 if you're in those situations. I have another question that's really interesting is, what about services for those that are caring for those with mental health? Like if they're for spouses or parents or children, how do you make sure your staff and your coworkers, I mean, you both work in an environment where you're dealing with a lot every day. And so how do you make sure that your mental health and your coworkers' mental health is also cared for in this? The caveat after this was caring for others can be hard.
Yeah, for us, we eat a lot of tacos.
That's a great way. That's an awesome way to do it.
That's our office coping mechanism. No, there's some really great things in place. So we just moved into a new office space, but for the 5 years prior to that, we were inside the Child Advocacy Center, and they housed the exploited missing child unit, the internet crimes unit, therapists, advocates, and they have a mental health professional that comes every Friday and makes the rounds and just touches base with people, and checks in and sees how they're doing. And they really put a lot of thought into making sure that they're caring for their people. My people know that if it's been a rough day or, something's going on or, whatever, go, I'll see you tomorrow, because what we do is hard.
Yeah, definitely. Amanda, what is your, what services do you guys have for maybe helping somebody with mental health issues?
So we have therapists that can meet with individuals to help them kind of navigate that role. We also work with NAMI, who provides a lot of that support as well. So we could get them connected to community providers or community places that they could receive that support. We at Comcare try to do an integrated treatment team, meaning we have everybody involved. So we often try to get the family members to participate in treatment planning and working towards goals so that they can learn a little bit about what their family member or the person that they're supporting is going through or working on.
That's awesome. I think it's such a beautiful thing to be able to help others, when they're trying to help themselves. I think it's such a beautiful thing to do. I know that we have covered a lot of topics tonight, but before we kind of wrap up for the evening, what are things that you like, what's your one last tip or trick, or not even tip or trick, but just like something that you want people to know in our community, or your one last shout out that you have, for the evening, about things that you guys are doing or things that you want the community to know about? And whoever wants to go first can.
I think it's important to remember not everybody's mental health looks the same. So just because one person has depression does not mean the next person who's been diagnosed with depression is going to have the same or even similar symptoms. And it's not always a very obvious thing. So if you're questioning it, or if you're concerned about a family member, it's important to open up those conversations in a non-judgmental manner.
That's awesome. Definitely. Jennifer, what are your thoughts?
I just think it's important for people to realize that we're still in the middle of a pandemic, right? The world is not back to normal. This has been a very long, very stressful 18, 20, whatever, months it's been for people. And just grace, cut yourself some slack. It's been tough for everybody. I've homeschooled my kid. I'm a single parent. I've been trying to keep my organization doors open, and everybody has a story like that over the past 18 months. And so just recognizing that a lot of things that people are dealing with are situational. It doesn't, like I said earlier, it doesn't mean that you're broken. It means that the world has been really hard
Yeah.
for a really long time for people now. And so just, do what you got to do to take care of yourself and take care of those around you. And there's no shame in that at all.
This is awesome. I think you both shared shared so much with us tonight about how our community is doing a lot of grace, doing a lot of things, giving a lot of grace to people, as well as, sorry, excuse me, giving a lot back to make sure that our community is healthy in all aspects, not just maybe in the physical aspect as we all are traditionally think of, but in all aspects. So thank you both so much for being here tonight. I so appreciate your time and your energy here. Both of these ladies, you will put both of them have had their different organizations placed into the comments. So if you would like to look into more about what they're doing or want to become more involved, there is both, or you want to be able to utilize some of their resources, all of that is in those comments there. So thank you both for coming out tonight. I so appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Well, I just am here to thank you all for tuning in and watching. This is such an incredible experience. As someone that has had moments with her mental health that has been all over the board of great highs and great lows, it is incredible to hear about some really awesome opportunities of things that we're moving forward to in our community and how we're supporting those in our community. As always, we have some really great election things coming up. So the election is November 2nd, and that's going to be more for there is not as many large Senate or congressional races right now, but there is a lot of local elections taking place. So make sure that you have identified your polling place, as well as your time and your plan to vote. So whether that's early voting that's happening right now, or if it is on November 2nd, that is great. Make sure you have a plan and you can execute that plan. Also, if you have any questions about when you go to the polls or anything there, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You'll be seeing a lot of really great stuff from our Facebook feed in the next few weeks, this next week and a half or so, about what's going on with those elections. So again, don't forget to vote. Check out Vote 411 if you want to look into more on your candidates, and make sure that you are headed out to vote. Thank you all so much and have a great evening.